Yeah. So this is just to elaborate on Marty's point about, asking about how, players going through things in their own life and the importance that sports can play, the factor that sports and could really have on helping people heal and develop. A little bit about me is that, prior with ODAAP and, when me and Ms. V initially met, I had wanted to bring some change to my football team and wanted to see some things happen there that I didn't have the knowledge, the communication skills at the time, given I was in ninth grade. Uh, and some of the things that I wanted to see done, but I couldn't get it done alone. I had no weight, I had no power. There was no programs in my school to help this happen. There was nothing happening. And it was frustrating, because there was so much potential on our team. But the guys were just, a lot of guys were individuals. A lot of guys were dealing with stress and trauma themselves that I knew about that they weren't communicating. And I was one myself at times. I was dealing with things that I didn't want to communicate, not only because I didn't know how, I was scared to, I didn't have the platform. Um, and then so at home, me and my father didn't have the best relationship. We had some physical altercations and stuff like that that was pretty frustrating to have to go to school and pretend it wasn't happening. Family issues, and then other traumas such as like, my environment, having to be around situations where I've seen my friends killed. I've seen my friends shot, robbed. I've been robbed. My house has been robbed, multiple things. And it's frustrating to have to pretend none of that is going on, and then you're supposed to go to school and have a normal day of school, right? And when Ms. V came to me with her story about what she experienced as a young woman, and having seen how that played out in her sister's life, seeing how that played out in the rest of her life, but through healing, and luckily she was strong enough to go and get help, and she was able to surround herself with people that helped empower her. Now, me and Ms. V combining those two ideas and being able to, involve sports in that was something beautiful, right? So being able to have a sports team, right? That's now, mind you, athletes are some of the most powerful people on in young communities, right? We look to athletes when we're talking about adolescent teens and or young players as the people that have most governance or most say, and that's when you can get them to come together and relay a positive message. That is scary, right? Because schools are allocating most of their resources to them, right? And it's not hard for the other people of the school, that may not have as much importance or quote unquote whatever. Um, it's not hard for them to want to follow too, right? Because the quote unquote cool kids are doing the right thing, right? So now everybody wants to do the right thing. And it's something that, through our idea of ODAP of impact, we initially started with men, targeting men because, those are the most common perpetrators of violence in domestic abuse and things like that. But, we're also working with women, right? And when you can get that, you have these athletes working together and you have teams uh, doing positive things, not only on the court or the field or whatever, but off the field too, right? Getting closer, stronger relationships, because that's what teams do naturally. Teams naturally bring you together. Teams naturally get you to work outside of what you're used to, outside of your comfort, thinking bigger than yourself. And then you have a program that's on the side also helping you build those communication skills, develop those and handle those inner traumas that you may not have thought to even acknowledge, you may not even understood. It took a lot of conversations with Ms. V or through when I was going through the process for me to actually sit back and analyze why I was making the decisions that I was making, why I was getting into endless relationships, in high school. I didn't realize, it took for me to understand that and it was kind of cool. I really had like an awakening moment. I had sat down because I'm not gonna lie. When I was a kid, I started getting in relationships. They would go a year, or they would go a certain amount of months, and then I would get out of it, right? Or that person would leave, and so I started building. I had growing up because I was never close with anyone in my family. Immediately, like I have siblings, or I have a lot of friends, or whatever, but I had no close relationships, right? Me and my father weren't really close, even though he was somewhat there. My mom was always normally working, so we were close but not close, right? And so I felt alone in a sense, right? And so I had to go to joining sports teams made me feel like I had somewhere to be. I had somewhere to belong, and I had, love and community. And then when I would look for in relationships that love, that different side of love that I wasn't getting at home. I wasn't getting, but I didn't know what love looked like, right? So I was trying to allow someone else to dictate what love looked like. Now, when you have a program that can come in and show you and educate you on what real love looks like at an earlier age, you're going to be able to stop kids from not only like like going through a lot of things that they don't need to go through, but you're going to help them develop as a person. And like I said, like that, I've grown so much because I was able to decide between my life why I was getting to these needless or endless relationships, right? And now I've had some of the strongest, healthiest relationships like that. The current girlfriend, we've been so strong together, and I'm grateful for it, and she's grateful for it too. And she thanks me all the time. Like, and she loves the work. She's so happy about the work that we're doing and ODAAP that she even offers to help, right? And create visualizations and things like that for ODAAP.
Christian, I have a question for you. Does she see what you have learned in ODAAP as something? Go.
Crazy. So my current girlfriend, right? We dated in high school, right? We dated in high school when back when I was first back. Now, mind you, I was still in ODAP all this time. I came back to my senior year. We started at the beginning of my senior year. We've been dating for almost a year now. And the first thing she said to me was like, "You've grown so much as a man." And at like just she was like, you were still who you were when I first met you, as far as like a jokester and stuff like that and da da da. But she was like, you've done so much, you've had so much growth. Just the way that you speak, the way that you are able to communicate how you feel, how you ask how I feel, things, all these different things that, I think out of respect for my mom and growing with my sister that I would have developed, but not at the rate that and not at the consistency, right? There's the consistency that I had with the constant repetition of ODAP. And that's really something that I'm not gonna lie, every day I'm grateful for, right? Because that's something that you can't get. And I think that we need more of.
Right, because I'm thinking too, Christian, about how, just to give a little background here, when I first met you in ninth grade, right, I have this video, remember the video? And I go, so are these other leaders on the team? And you was like, yeah, I'm a leader at ninth grade, And who would have known and who would have thought, like, all these years later, here you are sitting on the board of ODAAP, But the idea is, the way I've seen you grow as a man has blown me away. You know what I mean? The way you've grown. I love the idea with Christian in particular. I will say this, that even as he is still growing as a man, my thing has always been with Christian, how are your relationships going? Mm-hmm. How are you making sure that they're not your be all end all, right? That you're not so into your relationship that you forget about you, right? You're not so into your relationship that you're trying to control somebody because you need somebody to be with you, because you haven't had these relationships, right, Christian?
And that's her constantly reiterating that into my mind is the reason why I was able to sever away from other relationships throughout my college program, right? And because I was able to identify, right? I was able to grow as a man. Obviously, I think everybody's gonna have to go through, whether you're experienced or not, certain, like, as people reveal themselves to you, you can see, okay, yeah, I gotta go. But some people don't have the strength to go, right? I was able to, like, even the way that you're able to leave someone can be better and more peaceful than it's like, oh, we hate each other now, right? My last relationship, we were great friends, and things like that, but it just we just didn't mesh, right? And so as much as it hurt to have to leave a relationship for 2 years or whatever, it was like, hey, you know.
Yeah.
But it
It's
seems like
just,
you had a different respect for the relationship
yeah.
and how to navigate some of the ins and outs of it.
Exactly. It was like, I'm not just gonna leave you high and dry. I'm gonna go on about my life. It was like, no, like, hey, I genuinely the verbiage was there, right? I genuinely care about you as a person. It's just that, I don't want to waste your time. Where I'm trying to grow as a man, and growth is, I just don't see that happening through where I am right now. And I don't want to, make you suffer through that, right? That's not fair to you for me to lead you on or to make you feel as though that this is, I'm happiest, right? And she understood that, and now we're friends, right? We're still, obviously I keep my distance, but but we're good friends, right? I called her earlier this month, probably a week or two ago, just to check on her. How's your mom doing? How's your brother doing? How's your family? And she really appreciated that, and
Wow.
it's just like we're able to keep stronger, more peaceful relationships. And
Here's another thing. I'm going to interrupt you and say this because this is very key when it comes to prevention, and it's very key into breaking the cycle of trauma, where a person who's in a traumatic situation, it's a learned behavior. You do what you're taught or you're conditioned to do, right? So when you, like Christian, coming from that tumultuous background at home and that disconnect from his caregivers, if you will, right? Statistically showing, Christian's going to be that type of person, just statistically shown, that he's going to go and try to attach himself to as many or whatever he can to find that love or that connection that he never really felt that was supposed to be there, that was kind of in his grasp, but just kept missing it, So in him doing or thinking that, right, and not dealing with that, he could get into all these relationships where he's going from girl to girl to girl, thinking that that's what he needs, right? Without realizing something inside of him needs to step back and get with Christian, And so getting to know Christian and getting to know a little bit about his background, right away I'm thinking to myself, okay, what we want for Christian to do is get into healthy relationships, to understand that a relationship is not a be all and end all, right? It's good to be okay by yourself, right? But at the same time, Christian being in the 9th grade at the time, and getting to know him and slowly knowing his story. He wasn't one of those young men, I want to tell you about what's going on in my life. That was not Christian. That was not Christian. Christian was a slow cooker.
But it sounds like it was the safety of your relationship that was able to give him that opportunity to express himself and open up a bit.
Yes, totally. Wouldn't you say, Christian?
Yeah, I would say the program in general is built on mentorship, right? And establishing that relationship with each other and that trust and that connectedness. And, you don't see people really investing in you in that way. Something. And when you see somebody else is like, not, it's a nonprofit, right? I don't gain from trying to make your life better. I genuinely value you and what you're going through, right? Each person's experience is going to be unique. And it's like, I want to hear your story so I can help you understand it yourself, right? Because it's only going to make a better community. It's only going to change the trajectory of that person's life, right? My life work, a part of my life, is already devoted to seeing other people be able to go down the same path.
Wow.
Like once you have that, once you see what it can do for you, having somebody come in at such a young age and change your life, and how that can really open your eyes. Or even just sometimes, like I always talk to my friends about, sometimes I just wish I heard someone say something to me. Because sometimes it just takes one word to pique that interest. And then it's like, wow, and like budgeting, hey, budget. And then it's like, it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Emergency savings, yes, I should do that, and then it makes sense. But if no one ever says it, you never know to do it. You don't think about it. And then it's like, so, it's just, and when you have the power, with teams and stuff like that, when you have the power to reach 100 guys all at once, and then they're able to go and, if, it's a trickle down effect, right? They change, then they change their little brothers, and they're good role models for them, and, or, their sisters, they see how their brother is such a good role model, and how they demonstrate, or even they able to teach them how to respect themselves a little bit more, and decipher between situations better. It's just, it's just
What
crazy.
was the one thing I always said to you? You said always stuck with you.
Well, there's a lot of things.
Regarding reaching out to people and how you reach them.
No, and I told Miss B the other day, I was like, even if you only reach one, it matters,
Right.
because that's what we do. If I can affect one person's life and know that I changed one person's life,
Wow.
I'm happy, and but I know that we have the ability to do so much more, right? And why we owe it to them to do this.
Wow. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you sharing that with us.